When people talk about legendary Hollywood partnerships, the usual names come up quickly. But rarely do Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner top that list. And yet, their connection, rooted in trust, respect, and quiet devotion, created one of cinema's most unforgettable love stories. Their relationship was never about scandal or spectacle. It was about belief in talent, belief in courage, and belief in someone who did not always believe in herself. When Whitney Houston passed away in February 2012, the world mourned the loss of a voice that defined generations. At her funeral, Kevin Costner stepped forward to deliver a eulogy that stunned audiences with its tenderness and honesty. In that moment, it became clear that what they shared went far beyond a movie. It was a bond forged through vulnerability, faith, and the pressure of greatness, one that deserves to be remembered in full. The film that almost never existed. The story of The Bodyguard began long before Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner were ever attached to it. The script was originally written with Diana Ross and Steve McQueen in mind, envisioning a very different Hollywood era. Over time, the project was rejected an astonishing 67 times by various studios, each unwilling to take a risk on a story they believed would fail. Eventually, the script landed in Kevin Costner's hands at a moment when his career was quietly building. Then everything changed. Dances with Wolves exploded into a global success, transforming Costner into one of Hollywood's most powerful leading men. With that influence came opportunity. Costner chose to resurrect The Bodyguard, not as a safe studio product, but as a deeply personal project. He saw something others had missed, and he knew exactly who should star beside him. Kevin Costner's one non-negotiable choice. When Kevin Costner agreed to bring The Bodyguard back to life, he made one demand that shocked Hollywood executives. Whitney Houston had to be his co-star. At the time, Whitney was already a global music phenomenon, but she had never acted in a feature film. Studio executives hesitated. They questioned her experience, her ability, and whether audiences would accept a pop superstar in a dramatic romantic role. Costner was unmoved. He believed Whitney was not just suitable, but essential. To him, no one else could bring the vulnerability, strength, and emotional truth the role required. His confidence in her was absolute. This wasn't about star power, it was about instinct. Costner saw something rare in Whitney, something that transcended categories. But convincing the industry was one thing. Convincing Whitney herself would prove far more difficult. Whitney Houston's fear of being seen. Despite her fame, Whitney Houston was terrified. When Costner approached her about the role, her first instinct was to say no. In interviews, she later admitted that she was deeply afraid of failure. She worried our critics would tear her apart before giving her a fair chance. She feared embarrassing herself in front of the entire world. The pressure of expectation weighed heavily on her, especially as someone already viewed as flawless. Acting required vulnerability of a different kind, one without the safety of a microphone or melody. Whitney doubted whether she belonged in that space at all. It wasn't until Costner personally called her, speaking to her not as a producer or star, but as someone who truly believed in her, that she finally agreed. Saying yes didn't erase the fear, but it marked the beginning of her courage. A risk. Hollywood wasn't ready for Whitney. Houston's casting raised an issue Hollywood rarely addressed openly at the time. She was a black woman cast as the romantic lead opposite a white male actor in a mainstream love story. Though times were slowly changing, this still made studios uneasy. Executives worried about audience reactions, marketability, and backlash. Their lack of confidence translated into one humiliating requirement. Whitney had to pass a screen test. Costner disagreed, but couldn't prevent it. Years later, during his eulogy, he recalled how painful that day was. In her trailer, Whitney questioned everything about herself: her face, her voice, her presence. The biggest pop star in the world felt small and uncertain. Costner admitted he briefly considered rigging the test to protect her, but he stopped himself, realizing true respect meant letting her earn it on her own. The screen test that revealed her heart. Before the screen test began, Whitney asked for privacy. She stayed alone in her trailer for 20 minutes. When she returned, filming began, but stopped just 4 minutes later. Under the hot studio lights, the heavy makeup she had applied began to melt. She felt exposed and embarrassed. When Costner gently asked why she had changed her makeup, her answer was heartbreaking in its simplicity. "I just wanted to look my best," she said softly. In that moment, Costner understood Whitney completely. Despite her global success, she carried an enormous burden. She didn't feel entitled to greatness, she felt responsible for it. She gave everything she had, all the time. That screen test wasn't just an audition. It was proof of her humanity. And she passed, not just technically, but spiritually. The magic of The Bodyguard. When The Bodyguard was released in 1992, it exceeded every expectation. The film earned nearly $500 million worldwide and became one of the most iconic romantic dramas in history. While Kevin Costner's performance was strong, he never took credit for the film's success. To him, the magic belonged entirely to Whitney. Her portrayal of Rachel Marron was authentic, tender, and powerful. Costner later said many actors could have played his role, but only Whitney could have played hers. Her presence transformed the film. Audiences didn't just watch her, they believed her. She brought her own vulnerability, discipline, and emotional truth to the screen. In doing so, she proved every doubt wrong. The movie didn't just launch her acting career, it cemented her legacy as a once-in-a-generation artist. The song that changed everything. One of the most unforgettable moments in film history is Whitney Houston singing "I Will Always Love You." Yet surprisingly, the song was never meant to be in The Bodyguard. The original choice was What Becomes of the Brokenhearted. It was Kevin Costner who insisted on changing it, believing Whitney needed a song that began softly and built emotionally. The result was iconic. Her voice, unaccompanied at first, commanded silence. The song became inseparable from her image in the film itself. Looking back, its lyrics feel hauntingly prophetic. Whitney didn't just perform the song, she embodied it. It became her signature, her emotional fingerprint. Even today, professional singers hesitate to attempt it. As Costner later said, she set the bar so high that few dare to reach for it. Faith, friendship, and unanswered letters. Beyond the film, Whitney and Kevin shared something deeply personal: faith. Both were raised in the Baptist church and bonded over childhood memories. Costner often made Whitney laugh with stories of mischief during services, passing notes, sneaking away after communion, pretending to drink whiskey as a child. Their friendship was warm, grounded, and honest. When Whitney later struggled with addiction, Costner quietly wrote her letters. He didn't enjoy writing, but he wanted her to know she wasn't alone. Those letters were never answered. He never knew if she read them. That silence stayed with him. When Whitney passed, Costner described her as irreplaceable, a sensation and a phenomenon. He believed her greatest struggle wasn't fame or addiction, but self-doubt. Outro. Don't worry, you'll be good enough. At Whitney Houston's funeral, Kevin Costner spoke directly to her spirit. He told her she wasn't just good enough, she was great. He called her heaven's newest treasure, so extraordinary that even God might wonder how he created her. His final words were gentle and devastating. He asked her not to doubt herself when she sang before the Heavenly Father. "Don't worry," he said. "You'll be good enough." Their story doesn't have a traditional happy ending, but it has something rarer: truth. A friendship built on belief, respect, and love that asked for nothing in return. Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner gave the world a timeless story, on screen and beyond it. And in doing so, they reminded us that greatness often hides behind fear, and that sometimes all it takes is one person who truly believes.